Hey guys, my name is Nick and welcome back to the channel. And one of my projects for this year was to go back and finish my Aeronautica Imperialis planes from the main box that came out a while ago, plus some of the additionals that I had bought. So that was going to be one of the things for the year. Now it's been a while since I've looked at any of these projects because I've been so distracted with other things that weren't even on that list. But I thought I'd come back and do some Aeronautica, and I wanted to start gently. So I dug out two boxes that I've magically found that I clearly bought when it came out of the ground assets that came out with the kit. So I wanted to put those together and give them a paint, and I thought I'd record how I did it because it turns out they're actually really quick and easy to paint. So I thought I'd share exactly how I did it with you guys. Basically, you can paint these, excluding drying time, in about 10 minutes. So let's go and take a look how I did it. So what I've done is put everything together to start with and then given it a spray. I use a cheap grey spray, grey primer from Highcoat. Cost me about less than £3 a tin, so that's why I tend to go with that, and it gives a good solid coverage. So these are going to be the colours that I'm going to be using. So the first one is a yellow olive. I think like Cayman green or something like that is the equivalent in Games Workshop. Then we have Athonian Camoshade from Games Workshop, which is one of their shades. Followed by Bloody Red from Vallejo. What I'll do is I'll actually put all of the GW equivalent paints in the description below so you can pick and choose which colours suit you best. Finally, we've got a bit of Gunmetal or Leadbelcher. And then we're going to use a bit of Nuln Oil just to shade that down. There is one other colour that I'm going to be using, and that is Desert Yellow, which is for a light dry brush over that yellow olive colour. It's an entirely optional stage, but I think it does make a little bit of a difference. So I would go with that light dry brush as well. It just makes the details pop out that little bit better from a plain scheme. And then finally, to cheat with, I've got a Sharpie, a gold pen. So what I'm going to do is put that yellow olive through my airbrush. You can hand paint this just as easily, but it does mean it takes a little bit longer because the drying time and pushing the paint around with a brush does take that little bit extra. So what I'll do is I'll just speed through this little section here as we just go through the airbrush, because watching airbrushing isn't that exciting. But you can see as I do airbrush, especially in the weather that we've got now, it's like 25, 26 degrees centigrade. So it's probably even warmer than that in my man cave. But yeah, it dries really, really quick because it's thin and atomizes as it goes through the airbrush. But as I said, you could easily hand paint this. But just be careful because the way I've put these together, you just want to make sure you get into all the nooks and crannies and so on, just underneath where all the weapon tilts were. You could paint the weapons separately, but they are quite small and fiddly. And you could put them on a toothpick and stick them in a cork or whatever you're going to do on a pin just to get around that. But they're just as easy to paint fully assembled. Once that is fully dry, that's what we end up with. And what we're going to do now is that Camoshade paint all over the top of this to give it some depth. You could really, if you really wanted to, go with the old favourite of Agrax Earthshade. I think that's a little bit too dark against green. And this colour just still maintains that green hue, but without being too overpowering with a brown. And the same would be with Nuln Oil as well. It would give you that added shade and definition, but I just don't think it fits quite right. I'm not going to show you how to do all of these because it's quite simple. You're just slapping on that shade. But you do need to make sure that is 100% dry. So I've left this for about an hour before you do any dry brushing, because a dry brush will pick up any moisture and that's not what you want. Now for dry brushing, I've actually acquired, actually purchased from Amazon some new brushes. The GW ones I'm finding after a while have gone a bit stiff and a bit splayed. So I really want some nice soft brushes, and makeup brushes are awesome. I actually got 7 makeup brushes for about £8 delivered, all of different sort of sizes and shapes and so on for ladies' eye makeup. So these are really cheap. So if they do go wrong and break after a while, I'm not too fussed. But so far they're working out very nice. So a very light dry brush using this makeup brush, and as I said, I'm using Desert Yellow for this, which is kind of like a Zandri dust. As again, I'll leave all of the equivalent paints below. So once we've done that little light dry brush, you can see there it kind of picks out all the little ridges and bits of detail exactly what we want, just to make that little bit, that flatness sort of pop and bring these little ground assets a little bit to life. Next up then is a little bit of cheating. Now you can paint this on if you really wanted to with like Retributor armor or whatever, but I'm just going to use a gold pen. So along the top rim of each of these, there are little rivets and so on along the top, but you can easily draw around those with the pen. I'm just going to paint all of the top of these gold. It's actually very similar to the box art. I think they've done something very similar. And on the actual ground targets as well, I've just painted in various sections in gold just to break up the greenery. You could, if you really wanted to, go over with Reichland Flesh Shade or Agrax Earthshade over the top of that. I didn't feel it was entirely necessary. Next, we can add a little bit of colour and a little bit of detail. So we get two Manticore missile turrets with the ground assets. And all I'm going to do is paint the missile tips red. And that'll just bring those to life, and we know exactly what kind of weapons they are then. They just stand out on the battlefield. It takes about 2 or 3 thin coats of that light red over the top of the green though. It might be just the thickness of my particular paint. It's not. It's very. I think I've thinned it too many times to go through my airbrush, and the residual paint that I put back in after I've airbrushed has thinned it sufficiently that I need several coats. So that completes the Manticores. Now we've got the flat cannons, and all I'm going to do is paint all of the barrels in Gunmetal or Leadbelcher, plus the little antenna arrays that are on the side of the gun turrets as well, the emplacements as well. So that's pretty much it. And then also there's some stairs or something other sort of metallic detail on the sort of the little silo pieces that we can see there. I've painted those in silver just to break those up, plus a couple of the hinges that open up those top silo turrets as well. Finally then, all we're going to do is give that a nice little coat of the liquid magic that is Nuln Oil, just to give that a little bit of shade and a bit of depth. And that, as they say, is as far as it needs to go. So here's a nice little picture of them all completed, taken in the light box. So there we go then guys, that is the ground assets for the Imperial side. There are some orc bits to go with this, and I do have a second box, but just following my own guide, I should be able to whiz through these and produce the rest of these little ground assets for the Aeronautica Imperialis game. And that'll remind me of the scale, you know, the 8mm scale, whatever it is these are, to then crack on and do the rest of the planes. So hopefully when we do get some gaming going, there'll be something else to watch or something else to play on this channel. But I hope you enjoyed this quick video, this quick painting tutorial on those ground assets. If you did, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I shall catch you guys on the next video.